4th and goal to go to 2. 34 seconds left to go in the ball game. This is the play right now. Takes the snap. Targeted goes in. Targeted all alone. And the quarterback keeps. Wow, what a call. Nobody touched him.
Here is Jeff, the host of the Gridiron.
Leads you to the Packers did what the Giants couldn't do. I mean, as I said, and the Packers, right? They lost Clark, right? I mean, the Packers had a good defense. Have a good defense, and they look like obviously one of the top couple teams as of right now. Injuries are going to pop up. I think the Commanders lost 2 players for the season. Injuries are going to pop up. So right now, the Packers, and Eagles or whatever, they're probably like the teams to beat as of right now. Long way to go. But, you just saw after, we lost Micah McFadden week 1, right? Maybe for the whole season, maybe for most of the season. The Commanders lost 2 guys due to injuries. So last year, as I said, I've said this 3 trillion times, the best team in the NFC last year never made it to the championship game because they were totally decimated by injuries on defense. That was the Lions, totally decimated. A lot of guys banged up or missing, right? It's one of the reasons why they had a hard time stopping the Commanders in the playoffs. So to me, the best team in the NFC last year never made it to the championship game because this is how I look at it. They were not allowed to, right? They played. They were not allowed to because they kept getting. I mean, I know it's next man up, but that's total. That's the team talk. That's the coach talk. Oh, next man up. Oh, we didn't get it done. No, it's because they weren't allowed because they're injuries. I said what the Eagles did. Well, put the 3rd string players in for the Eagles on defense, 2nd and 3rd string. Let's see how far they get. They're not going to the Super Bowl. Not happening. See, the Eagles were allowed to because they had a great team, don't get me wrong, but they were very, very healthy all year long. A lot of these other teams, they get totally decimated by injuries. So it's, at the end of the season, are you allowed to continue your season? Once again, I said, next man up. We have our 14th string guard in there. Next man up. He's got to do it. If you're allowed to have your starters in there at the end of the season, whatever the football gods have in store for you, right? If they're going to totally decimate your whole team by injuries, you're pretty much screwed. If you're allowed to make it, rather healthy, toward the end of the season into the playoffs and all that, you might have a shot. It's very, very, very difficult. That team totally decimated by injuries and go really far. But unfortunately for the Commanders, looks like they lost a couple of their star players, possibly for the whole season. So, but I mean, with the Packers, right? I mean, you look what the Commanders did to the Giants, and then you look what the Packers were able to do to the Commanders, especially on the defensive side. It's like, well, how did the Packers? I mean, I said that they had like 50-something yards. Do I have it up there? Cowboys. Yeah, here we go. I mean, the Commanders got, where are we at? Team stats. Commanders had, let's see, rushing. They ran the ball 19 times for 51 yards. Averaged 2.7 yards per carry. They averaged almost like, I think it was like almost like 7 yards a carry against the Giants. They averaged like 2.5 times the amount of yards rushing against the Giants. Now, one of the things also, okay, which is absolutely huge, there's a lot to do with the running game, is that the Packers were up and they stayed up. They were up 17-3 going into the fourth quarter. So when you're up, the Packers can dictate on offense what they're going to do. Maybe pass a little bit, maybe a little bit of running, keep the other team off balance. when you're behind and the clock's a ticking, you don't really want to run the ball too much, right? So when you're behind, you don't really run the ball very much, right? So you usually pass the ball, right? So the Commanders were ahead against the Giants, so they could kind of dictate what they wanted to do a lot, as far as running and passing all, right? But, I mean, even still, right, at 51 yards rushing, I mean, all the time, also, too, look, right, all the times that Jaden Daniels stepped back, Jaden Daniels, okay, let's go down here, and we're at it. Recap. Nope, box score. My bad. I'm sorry. Box score. Jaden Daniels ran the ball 7 times for 17 yards, 2.4 yards a carry. 7 for 17. He was running all over the Giants. 7 times for 17 yards. So that means their running backs picked up like 34 yards rushing the whole game. Well, how were they able to keep him in the pocket, him under control? You can say, oh, I got Micah Parsons. Well, yeah, okay. But, Micah Parsons had 2 tackles. He did have half a sack. He had 2 tackles. It wasn't like he had 38 tackles. And they said they don't have Clark anymore clogging up the middle. So, I'll tell you, if we can continue, you don't even know what the end of the season is going to hold. But, if we continue to have a hard time with, we got some solid players there. If we continue to have a hard time in the running game, Bowen's got to go. We got to get somebody in there that can devise something that can stop the run. But let's see where we at here. Is this it? All right. So we got Commanders just confirmed that the Giants fans' worst fear in prime time, that the Giants might be even worse than you thought. Well, once again, we got the guys. I think it could be some coaching. So, but anyway, coming into the season, the Giants could only hang their hats on one thing. The offense may have been shaky. The secondary was a major question mark, but the defensive front was supposed to be one of the best in the league. Absolutely. The unit produced 3 sacks in their opener against Washington, but couldn't do enough to sway the final result. Still, it was hard to complain about a loss to a team that went to the NFC Championship Game last season. Well, a lot of, they did keep the Giants in the game. The Giants offense just couldn't do anything. It was 14-6 halfway. It was still a 1-score game halfway through the fourth quarter. Giants offense just couldn't do anything. But after a stagnant showing for the Commanders on Thursday Night Football, and it was stagnant. It was. Jane Daniels had like 66 yards passing, like halfway through the third quarter. He went up with like 200 yards passing, but like 150 or 140 or whatever those were like the last quarter. Well, all he did was just throw the ball because he had, they weren't, they were in, hurry up, let's score mode, right? He had like 66 yards passing. They had like less than 100 yards offense, like halfway through the third quarter. Commanders' struggles prove Giants' defense isn't what fans hoped. Well, according to this article, we've seen NFL teams have success by leaning into their strengths. Think of the 2024 Eagles pass rushing attack or the Seattle Seahawks Legion of Boom defenses. While the Giants don't have the expectations those teams had, they clearly tried to create a similar identity by putting together an elite defensive line. Dexter Lawrence, who is ramping up. Dexter Lawrence was not Dexter Lawrence last week. He's still ramping up. Could take him a few weeks to get back fully into the swing of things. So, if he's still not looking like sexy Dexy, right, in his prime, right, it might take a few more weeks, right? Well, Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, Abdul Carter, and Kayvon Thibodeau form a unit that should strike fear into their opponents. They had a decent outing against Washington in week 1, putting pressure on Jaden Daniels, but struggling to stop the run. You have Bobby Okereke, who had 16 tackles. But Wasn't the dominant performance fans had hoped for, but there was still enough to be excited about for the rest of the season. Now it looks like the Commanders may not be the juggernaut fans thought they were. They managed to finish their primetime game against the Green Bay Packers with a respectable score of 27-18. But they were outmatched for the entire night. As I said, it was 17-3 going into the last quarter. They scored 15 points in the last quarter. And all they did was throw the ball. Right? There was no running. As I said, Jaden Daniels had like 66 yards. I remember putting on my computer. 66 yards pass like halfway through the third. It had like less than 100 yards of offense halfway through the third quarter. It was absolutely pathetic. The offensive line that held up against New York allowed 4 sacks and seemingly countless pressures. The Packers defenders were in the backfield all night, terrorizing Daniels as he scrambled to find some sort of open space. Now, they were terrorizing him, right? We had a couple rushes on him, but he was scrambling around looking for places to run. Well, he didn't have any hard time finding places to run against the Giants. The Commanders couldn't run the ball on the Packers either, totaling just 51 yards on the ground. They had 4.5 times that against the Giants. The offense that looked more than competent against the Giants was lost in Green Bay. Well, how is that? I mean, Green Bay's got a good defense. But I mean, is it 3 times better than the Giants defense? Hell no, absolutely not. The Packers showed the G-men what a dominant defensive front looks like. And as I said, they didn't have Clark in there. Because we'll be facing him tomorrow in Dallas. They had waves of pass rushers and run stoppers ready to go at any moment. Giant fans didn't come into this season with high hopes, but they were at least supposed to have an elite defensive line, something to hold your hat on, or hang your hat on. I'm sorry. Now it looks like their biggest strength may not be a strength at all. Well, it's it's going to be one of those things. Let's see who's here at the end of the season. Right? It's a long season. Got a long way to go. Does Dable make it? Does Shane make it? But I mean, if we're giving up 200, I don't care who the quarterback is. I don't care if it's Michael Vick. We keep giving up 200 and something yards rushing every week with this defense. The defense coordinator needs to go. Straight up, just needs to go. Now we averaged 2 yards a carry against the Commanders last week. The Commanders got 51 yards rushing against the Packers. They got 200 and something against the Giants. Bones got to go. So Bones, the pink slips is getting ready to be mailed. It's put in the envelope. I'm getting ready to lick it. Getting ready to seal the envelope and open up my mailbox and stick it in the mailbox and send it off to Bowen. That dude's on final call. He better, better pull a rabbit out of his ace or out of a hat or something. Boy, he better start doing something, man. 200 and something yards of run. And that was one of the things Mr. Maurer was really complaining about. Is I hate seeing other teams just walking up and down the field on us. Like, we can't stop them. Can't stop them. And I said the game, it could have been worse last year. Let's not forget. I said if there was once again, if woulda, coulda, shoulda, all that stuff. Man. If there was like another 30 seconds left in the first half, next to 20 seconds, whatever, Commanders might have scored another touchdown. Could have been 28-6. Could have been 21-3 at halftime. So, Bowen, your pink slip's just about to get ready to get mailed out to you, buddy. You better start doing something, man. If you can't with this team, I'm not saying we're the greatest team of all time, but with this group of talent, if you can't get better performance than what we had last week, you got to go. We got to get somebody else in there. Bye.